Hello and welcome to the Cove with a new series, Leviathan Crafts. When I originally created this channel, I always had in my mind that I would use this to kind of be a chronology of my artistic endeavours and see how they improve over time. I have quite a few friends who are good at miniature painting and got me into it, and I've always felt like I wasn't quite as good as them, which is no surprise, it is a new skill. And I thought it would be good for posterity's sake to document my progress as I gained more and more skills and document my growth over time. So I decided I'd start with a few games since that was the quickest and easiest thing to get the channel going, as that's something I do want to continue, and I could record a bunch of material of me painting, I guess. So here I am, and this is the edited version, and hopefully you'll enjoy what you see. So to start this off, this is a Griffin mech from the world of BattleTech, a game of armoured combat. My friend and I, we decided we wanted to get into the game, so we split one of these beginner boxes, and this was one of 8 miniatures that came within, and there was also a bunch of cardboard cutouts to use for the other mechs. For the mechs we don't currently have printed. I started off with a fairly simple idea of masking off around the base of the miniature, so I'll have a nice clean finish at the very end, and then primed it with a grey paint. It was a grey airbrush primer by Vallejo, and I think it came out pretty good. My friend had access to an airbrush, so that made that job very easy and nicely coated. After the base coat was applied and dried, I decided I would start off everything with a nice gunmetal base coat. So that was under the entire body, so if I was to do anything like using a chipping medium or anything else, I would have a cool metallic undercoat to help show the substructure of the mech if I was to choose to do any battle damage. After doing my gunmetal base coat, I spent a little bit of time deciding what kind of pattern I wanted to do for my mech, and I thought of doing a camo-inspired mech. So far I hadn't really done anything like that, but I thought it would be a good idea. So I started out with a dark green by Vallejo, and so I started picking out areas that I thought would look good and would be a natural choice for that colour. So the helmet was one of the first places I decided to pick up, and then from there I just sort of decided to do a panel here and there and to not do anything too specific, but not too worried about if it was a little asymmetrical, as things aren't exactly a perfect pattern in nature. So after I had finished with the dark green, I decided to move over to my second colour, which was a beastly brown, again another Vallejo colour, and so I decided I would pick out a couple of things that I really wanted to kind of make sure that I had standing out. So I decided I wanted the front of the missile launcher as well as the, I guess we'll call it the mohawk of the helmet. I thought they would be really nice pieces to use with the colour, so I could get a good amount of distinction and not also have anything too remarkably bright, being that it is camo. I didn't want anything too outstanding, so like a really bright green or leaving it as silver was probably not what I wanted to go for. So then after that I continued to follow down the rest of the body, starting at the top, working my way towards the feet. I now had a rough idea of where some of the main colours were going to be, so I started with another green to accent the work that I'd done so far. So as I was picking out all of these metal plates, I was just looking and trying to find for little areas that I thought would either accent well or pair nicely beside one another with a slightly lighter green for a little bit of highlight, but also to break up so it wasn't going straight from one colour to the next. Now, as you can see here, I have moved over towards a new brown, which is the Parasite brown, and I started looking around trying to find some areas that I felt were a little bit too metallic, or that some of the colours were just a little bit, they just didn't feel like they were progressing in a very good direction, so I figured I would help break that up with this lighter brown. Now, you also notice that there is a little bit of a change of scenery. I have been doing most of my arts and craft on my dining room table, and occasionally I have to move things around, and so in the last scene I should say, there was a big sheet of butcher's paper and a box, as I had recently had an airbrush out for another project, and so that was still remaining, and now this is just the general table where I get to do my fun arts and craft. Now, towards the end here, I didn't exactly have a specific idea as to what I wanted to do with the silver. I was thinking of possibly going in a little bit more heavily and making sure that there was colour in all of the spots, but I thought it would kind of have an interesting aesthetic to see what would happen if I would leave some plain metal parts underneath still showing through. So it's as if they haven't quite got around to painting everything as they would either want to, or there's just like a little bit of, there's been a few replacement parts. It just made it feel like a little bit more of a grizzled mech. And so after all of that, I decided I would now risk and see if I could come up with something outside of my comfort zone, and I went, hey look, this is a camo mech. I'm now going to, after meticulously painting specific panels as each color, I'm now going to come in with some organic lines and shapes so that I can create more of that classic aesthetic of the camo of that camo pattern rather than just the colors. And then from there, I followed it up with a brown wash. I used a burnt sienna wash that I had created myself. So I found some inks at the craft store, and then I mixed that with a bit of water, a little bit of flow medium, and basically I tinkered with that for a while until I came up with the right consistency that I was after. And so then I could give, well, the final wash. I ended up doing 2 coats, so it would dull down a little bit more, and I think that worked out rather well. And then to finish things off, I also got out the metallic gold, and I gave a very, very thin coat over the front of the mech where the glass is meant to be, so I could get a little bit of that illusion of light coming from inside. And then, of course, to finish it off, there is the wonderful joy of taking off that masking tape at the very end and appreciating those nice, thick, crisp lines at the base of the Mini that are just so clean. It was very, very satisfying to do. And now on to the final shots. So I hope you've enjoyed the first of many art projects to be coming by. I don't have an exact schedule that I will be leaning to just because it's a little bit difficult and it's a lot of work to edit and I am still learning. So hopefully over time that'll get better too, as well as my painting. So until the next time, thank you for tuning into the Leviathan Cove. This is the Leviathan, signing out.